Hello. Welcome to Beyond the Dieline podcast, Founders Edition. I'm Tom Seymour, your host. Today, I'm so excited to interview my good friend, Benita Kasbo. Benita is the founder of Kasbo's Market. She makes the best cheese I've ever had. She's a powerhouse networker, budding influencer, and all-around great person to have in your village. You are in for a great show today. Enjoy. Hey, Benita, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Tom. Thank you so much. And what a beautiful thank you for that intro. Thank you so much. That was so sweet.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I am so excited to have you here today. I guess we'll put a little timestamp on this thing and we'll
Yeah,
say that we are in the 2026 monster snowstorm.
we are in
Um,
the Northeast.
yeah, that's kind of crippled the country. I know today Bison Bag is shut down due to weather. I think they got like 20 plus inches in Buffalo.
Wow.
I was spared here in Rochester with just 10 inches. But yeah, it is all over the country. Now you're sitting in New Jersey, and how much snow did you get?
Yeah, we got 17 inches where I live, and I am not that far from New York City, and we have not had a snowstorm like this in a very long time.
Yeah, they're saying it's been the snowstorm of the decade.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so here in upstate New York, like I've grown up with it, unless we get more than like 36 inches of snow, I don't really consider it an emergency situation.
Right.
Um, so yeah, 10 inches for me. Like the kids are off of school today, and yeah, it was pretty funny that for us it's not, but we also are not as populous dense as downstate New Jersey, New York
Sure.
City. Like I can imagine it's wreaking havoc in Manhattan today. And so
100%. Yeah.
yeah. And obviously if you're from Texas, you just aren't used to getting snow and ice. So I can understand that as well.
Yeah. And they're not equipped like we are. We have all the systems in place to take care of it, but it slows us down for sure. And we don't like to move slow in the Northeast.
Yeah, that is 100% true. I'll tell you, I was up this morning at 5 a.m. and I was in the gym at 5:30. Now I will say that I was one of like 3 or 4 crazy people that were at the gym. Nobody, it was completely empty, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But I didn't let it affect my routine. Yeah, we're used to it. We're used to moving fast and hustling and grinding. I think that's a very shared trait for anybody in the
100%
in the Northeast, yeah. So,
for
well,
sure.
I'd love for the audience to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us what you've been working on?
Yeah. So I own a company called Kasbo's Market. I am launching a cheese brand that is going to be under a brand called Kasbo's Middle Eastern Kitchen. And to give you a little background about myself, I'm originally from Aleppo, Syria, and I came to the US as a little girl. And traditionally in the Middle East, we are big cheese makers. And I grew up making traditional Syrian cheese. And I decided, based on feedback from people in the cheese industry, to try to bring this product to market. And I've been working on it since 2020. And I've been able to get the product into specialty stores. And I've also branched into food service, which I'm sure we could talk about some of those collaborations that I'm doing now. And I'm the head cheesemaker for Cafe Zafri, which is a high-end Middle Eastern restaurant in New York City. And I'm preparing to launch into grocery, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the summer this year. So I have been, going through this journey of networking, navigating not only the dairy space, but the CPG industry to understand how all these things work. And none of this is in my background other than cheese making. So it's all been new to me.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, your cheese is outstanding.
Thank you.
So yeah, you have honed that craft. Like that's just amazing. I think I had told you that similar story. My mom came to the country when she was a young girl.
Hmm.
And it's amazing, like when we talk about transferable skills, it's amazing like cultural um the quality of like some of the details that come over culturally. Like my
Yeah.
mom, for example, in the kitchen, like with sauce, and she came from Sicily. And so it's just amazing to see like how that's like infused deeper. I feel like here in the US, we're not always as deep culturally, right?
Yeah,
Like traditional dishes and foods, and I know that's why we're so attracted to like other cultures' foods, and
right.
um Middle Eastern is hot right now. I mean, hot, right? Like it's
Yeah.
the trend in both restaurant and like flavor infusion for CPG.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about the cheese that I'm making, it has this really special ingredient that no one's heard of if you're not Middle Eastern. And I can share with you what it is. So it's cooked with this spice called mahleb, and mahleb comes from seeds of cherry pits, and these cherries exclusively grow in the Middle East. And it's the St. Lucie cherry tree. And then inside the pit is this tiny little seed. And you take these seeds and you gather them and then you grind them up. And then they get incorporated into the seasoning process. And it leaves this finish with the cheese that is like slightly nutty, chamomile, cinnamony. Depending on your palate, you get a different flavor profile. And that is not available in the US. So to your point, these are the things that we've brought over here that are continuing those traditional flavors and authentic recipes. And that is the whole purpose of me doing this, is to really um, be in addition to the current cheese case, because a lot of the cheeses in America are very European based, and the Middle Eastern market hasn't really been saturated or even promoted in a proper way that highlights these really special ingredients and these unique flavor profiles.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a big opportunity to highlight different regions, especially
Mhm.
ones like, I mean, Sicily and Italy, there's plenty of that, plenty of representation. But it's so interesting seeing like areas from around the world that are kind of underrepresented or are
Yeah,
just coming into their own and getting hot here in the US. And I think part of that is curiosity, American curiosity for different and exploration for different types of foods. I also think that it's a testament to like the melting pot mindset.
yeah,
That today we find ourselves always like in such a political debate about, but not to get into politics, but like having such a great like community that's so mixed and so diverse. And I think it's
absolutely.
a representation of more and more diversity here in the US, and people like you bringing great dishes and exposing people to things they haven't had before, and then
Yeah,
creating demand, because we're back in Syria, people know this product is amazing and
yeah,
delicious, right? But here it's being introduced. So I just love how diversity plays so uniquely into food and our food ecosystem. And a lot of times I think people skip over that piece, and food, by the
yeah,
way, like we both know, like food brings people around the table.
it
Food is about community.
yeah,
There's like love and friendship and joy in food. And, I think food is the thing that binds us together. Um,
100%, 100%, and I think that it really is like, you mentioned political stuff, but it's the easiest way not to have those political conversations and just learn about someone.
mhm.
And for a lot of people, like my customers, 95% of them are non-Middle Eastern people. And, I might be the first Middle Eastern person that they've interacted with because of this cheese.
Mhm.
And it really helps bring down those political barriers where they're like, oh, wow, like she's someone who's from that region. And just getting to know her and understanding that this is like the cheese of that region is just brings us closer together. And I think helps with all that political layers that I definitely experience all the time, and just creates like a happy experience for people, because just food is that connection, like you said, and it's the easiest way to build community and understanding.
Yeah, it's so great when you can let personal experience drive your mindset, your thinking, your opinion rather than public opinion
Yeah,
or like whatever the flashy headline is in the news, right? And
absolutely.
so I love that, like that's the great thing about food is that we get to get out and like be with the people that are consuming it, especially pushing into retail, right? You have to sample it, you have to get it in their mouth, and they're
Yep.
forced to like not only learn about the product and and enjoy the flavor of it, but then also get to know the person that's serving
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's such a cool industry. We're so fortunate that
So
we get to
lucky.
do what we do. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
prior to being in the food industry, what were you doing?
So before I was doing this, I actually have a healthcare background. I have a degree in public health, and I worked in the pharmaceutical industry in sales.
Okay.
So I was really easy. It was very easy transfer for me in terms of skills with working in sales and marketing. And I really loved it. I launched products for these pharmaceutical companies. I went door to door to doctors' offices. I make a joke that, when I was working part time and I had just started this, like I was sampling medication Monday through Wednesday and sampling cheese Thursday through Sunday. And so it's really been an easy connection to make this transition into food, because so much of my career was about educating people on healthcare, making connections with people who don't know me, knocking on doors. So it's a lot of what I do now in food.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that about you. And
Yeah.
you're the type of person that when you come into a room, you like light up the room. And that's I
Oh,
think I think
thank
that's
you.
like a somewhat similar common thing with salespeople, right? Like you have to be
Yeah.
on, you have to be able to almost be a chameleon. You have to be able to blend in with everybody and anybody that you're talking to. You have to be positive and outgoing. You have to
Yep.
know your technical stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I that makes a lot of sense that that's what you're up to before you got into food.
Yeah.
What said like, "Hey, I'm killing it over here in pharmaceutical. You know what? I think I want to jump in and start something on my own." What was that kind of genesis moment that made you decide to take it from like a 2-day a week sampling cheese, 3 days a week selling pharma
Yeah.
to jumping in full time?
Yeah, so when I started the journey, well, this whole journey really started in my mind a long time ago. But just, I know, having a family, at the time when I really wanted to do this, I had just had a baby and just life kind of got in the way. So when the pandemic hit, I couldn't go to my job because my job was in the field. And, we couldn't go to doctors' offices, obviously, because of COVID. And I just before the pandemic had met someone who worked in the cheese industry, and he said to me, when you're ready, he's like, I definitely think you should do this, I encourage you to do it. And then finally the pandemic, we didn't anticipate it, but when it hit, I said, okay, let me get going on this because now I'm home. So I was home. I couldn't go to work for 5 months, and I actually got it up and running, and I made some more connections, and I was able to get it into a couple of stores right away. But fast forward to 2023, I was still doing both. I was working and I was doing cheese for almost 3 years at the time. And I actually lost my job. They shut down my entire department. So it was nothing personal to me. It was just the company went in a different direction, and all of our jobs got eliminated. And so I said to myself, you know what? If I've already started this like proof of concept, I see that this is working. And now it's time for me to really go full force on this. So I feel like it was a little bit of like a divine intervention for me in my life and giving me that opportunity. And fortunately, I did get a great severance package. And so it kind of helped me transition easily into this full time.
That's great. Yeah, there is definitely a plan and a path, and a lot of times it's easy to fall into the idea that like we control so much. I always tell people
Yeah,
like there are a lot of things we control. We control the way we treat other people. We control the way we react to situations. So, there's a lot we do have control over, mainly self-control, right?
right,
But there's so much that we're not in control of. And so for me, I have to surrender to the idea that like there is a greater plan for my life. And I don't always see like, I don't understand the turn by turn directions. A lot of times I'm able to
right.
reflect and look back and I can say, oh, like, I had this amazing moment recently. My daughter got into some trouble at school. She got beat up at school. Um, and
Oh,
that's terrible. But I got an opportunity to coach her on that kind of path or
oh,
grand plan of life because it made me reflect back on a time when something like that happened to me. And the
yeah.
strangest thing, I was able to correlate that had that not happened to me, I would have never have met my wife. So there was like 15 steps between me getting beaten up in a parking lot in high
Oh,
school and then meeting my wife and having my kids. So I was able to walk through that
yeah.
with my daughter and show her like, hey, something terrible that happened that I didn't understand at the time, nor did I understand any of the turn by turns that I was getting, but they all led to, and the only way that I could have found your mom was through that specific path. And so
Yeah. Oh,
sometimes in reflection you can see it, but oftentimes when you're in the throes of it, it's really hard to understand what's going
it
on, you know?
absolutely. And I think for me, I had kept feeling this like pressure, like when am I going to take this big leap? And I felt like the universe just pushed me off the edge, and it was like what I needed. And truthfully, since I lost that job, I have been able to accelerate this, I
Right.
mean, 1,000 times over. So a lot of opportunities came because of that. At the time, what felt like uncertainty and nervousness, and I definitely have immigrant mentality about money, and I try to be scrappy and frugal, and that's always stayed with me as an immigrant. So all of that uncertainty led to so many opportunities that I was able to create for myself because I had more time. I wasn't, dividing myself. But you're so right. You don't realize until you kind of get to the next point, looking back, why everything happened the way that it did.
Mhm.
And I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, well, it's no surprise. Like I've said, the product is outstanding. It's unique, right? So I'm always
Yeah.
trying to coach people like, what is the key differentiator? Like, don't just tell me that you have great cheese because everybody
Yeah.
thinks they have great cheese, right? And everybody, I mean, I would say that most of the cheese I've ever tried has been pretty great. I'm
Of course.
trying to think, yeah, I'm trying to think if I've had cheese where I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the worst cheese. So like that's the thing is like so many people get hung up on the idea, like founders and people in the startup space, we get caught up on the idea that like it has to be about the product being great. That is 100% like that is like the ground rule, right? Like if you don't have a great product, you can't even get in the game. But then
Right.
it's like understanding like what are your key differentiators? What are the reasons that the consumer is going to want the product?
Mhm.
And what's the business case that you're developing to sell to the retailer, right? Because a lot of times I see startups or emerging brands make the mistake of selling the amazing trait or the amazing quality of the product, but like the retailer at the end of the day, it's a business transaction, right? Like they really,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna say they care about, but the majority of what they care about is like, what is your product gonna do for our stores? Like, how are you gonna
Right.
get more people in the store spending more money with us? And if you can prove out that business case piece, that return on investment, you're more likely to land an account with a grocer than you are if you're going in trying to pitch them that like you have the greatest XYZ product.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have that perspective like from your background, right? Like you
Yeah.
always had to go in when you're selling pharma, you couldn't just go in and be like, "Hey, we got the greatest." It's like, well, these are the reasons that it's the greatest. These are the things that it will do. And if there was a
Right.
competitive product, these are the things that it does different than the competitive product.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, when I've had these conversations over the past year of, where we're headed with the where the product will be in the future. The key thing is I actually went in because I did my homework. I went into the stores and I looked at what's available.
Mhm.
And when I had the key discussions with buyers, I explained to them that you don't have this representation within your case, within your cheese case.
Mhm.
So I think number one for any brand, it should be do your homework, understand who your competitors are. And I always tell everybody, like, this is not easy. I'm one of 1,000 cheeses, right? Like, you walk into Zabar's, it is a wall of cheese. And so I have to differentiate myself. So the way
Mhm.
that I've done that is one by, again, explaining the market opportunity for a new category, because this is a new category in the cheese world.
Mhm.
Number two, what makes my product special. And number three is storytelling, like understanding this background. Everyone loves to feel like they're buying something special, right?
Yep.
Like, oh my God, I'm getting something authentic. There's this unique ingredient, mahleb. I don't know what mahleb is. This curiosity around a flavor profile. I think all of that can really help solidify a connection with a buyer. And that's how I've done it myself.
Yeah, I love that advice. So again, this podcast is aimed to helping those holding the door for founders that are coming behind us or alongside us. And I love the idea of telling people to do their homework. I
Yeah.
think to take that even one step deeper, like don't only do the homework on the competitive set, because I feel like a lot of people understand or will do that. But I've seen so many great products that have started to come to market just to
Mhm.
find out that they didn't do the homework needed all the way through the supply chain. And there was some
Mm.
inherent barrier or obstacle. And a lot of times, a couple that stand out in my mind, it was like some multi-million-dollar investment that was needed because they were an innovative product. They were bringing something
Yeah.
brand new to the market. And like there's no manufacturing assets to produce the product. And you have to know that from the start. Like either you're going to work with a co-packer or co-manufacturer, or you're going to
Right.
self-produce. And if you either one, you have to understand that there's an investment needed, and you don't want to find out too late in the game that in order to scale, you have to make a multi-million-dollar investment in some specialty equipment or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
if you plan for it, then you get through it. It's in your business plan. It's planned for. But I've seen a couple times, and that's the advice I also give people is like, do your homework, but also really dive deep into the supply chain and ask yourself
Absolutely.
why has nobody else brought this to market? And sometimes the answer, not all the time, but sometimes it's that there's some major barrier. And if you can overcome
Yeah.
it, then that positions you perfectly. But you have to know what that is. And so I feel like that's another like extension on the do your homework piece, right?
Oh, 100%. And I encountered that as well. I'm moving to a co-packing model, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this in the dairy industry, but there are not many co-packing people in dairy. It's really hard to find somebody. And I was so fortunate that I was able to find someone that was local to me who had just opened up a facility, brand new facility. So, but to your point, that took months to find out, is this even possible? Am I able to produce this on a bigger scale outside of me doing it on my own, which is not scalable?
Yeah.
And you have to understand, what's required of you on the grocery side, right? Like for me, I have to have special audits completed. Those costs, the one that I'm working towards is approximately $5,000. That's an annual thing I have to do. So you really start building this like your own roadmap, and understanding costs and what it takes to manufacture a product. The other thing that I had to figure out that was really challenging, and I want to say it took me almost 4 months, which I know seems fast, but when you're going through it, you're like, oh my God, am I ever going to figure this out? Was how do I get large quantities of mahleb to the US? So believe it or not, I found my supplier on TikTok.
Wow.
So crazy. I just kept scrolling and looking up spices companies. And one day, this Lebanese spice company comes up on my page, and I see that they have these Middle Eastern spices. And I sent them an email and I introduced myself, and they replied and they were like, "We know who you are. We've seen you on Instagram." And we actually have the product. So now I have a connection with someone in Lebanon who's going to be able to supply me with large quantities of mahleb. And what's
Awesome.
so great about that is, I'm also supporting a farmer in Lebanon.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So there's so much to unpack. I think I think we're probably gonna run over because I have so much stuff that I can
That's
think
fine.
of.
I have time for you.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much I can think of. Yeah, it's funny too, like the other piece, like to move on from the idea of transferable skills.
Yeah.
Um, like going back to that sales piece, like you and I both come from a sales background. And I feel like the tenacity and persistent nature that it takes to be successful in sales.
Yeah.
Like my dad was my mentor, and he always told me, like, you're going to have to hear 9 no's before you get a yes. So for 15 years, I've been living this, like, okay, that's all right. Like, I heard
Yeah.
another no, so I'm one no closer to a yes type mentality. And when you jump into CPG, it's the same. Like,
It's the
I mean, it's
same.
even harder. It's even
It's
harder
even
because the
harder.
retailers have lower bandwidth because everybody wants to talk to them.
Yep.
And you have to hear no over and over and over and over before you get a yes. And so, yes, I feel like that's another thing that, like, salespeople getting into CPG are a little bit unique, because I feel like we bring a different level of tenacity and understanding of, like,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
100%. And again, my mentality is just try. Who cares? Like, I'm not going to start crying because you didn't email me back or you said no to me. Like, it's just part of like, just my DNA and what I've been trained to do in understanding that you are going to get tons and tons of no's. You're all, not only are you going to get a no, but you're going to get people who don't understand the market, who are not going to understand who your customer is. That's been one of my biggest barriers is people think, oh, why don't you go sell it to the Middle Eastern community? And I'm like, that's not my customer. We're trying to bring in the American consumer and expand the knowledge of this product.
mhm,
And so it took me a long time to get people to understand that. But in terms of rejection, I could care less. I not to pat myself on the back, but I was featured in the New York Times, and so many people said to me, "How did you do that?" And they were like shocked by it. And I said, "I sent them an email." And they were like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I just sent an email." I'm like, "That's what you have to do. It's not about whether or not it can happen. It's about, did you put yourself in a position for it to happen?"
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you have to create your own opportunities. And if sending an email to someone and being worried that they're not going to reply to you cripples you, I mean, I think, we have to have a different conversation. I
yeah,
think you got
yeah,
to
yeah.
spend a little time with yourself and understand why that's happening. But yeah, no, I am not afraid of rejection, misunderstanding, or any of that. It's just part of the career that I chose. And it just makes it honestly easier for me, and I really enjoy the journey. Like, I enjoy the challenges, which makes me, maybe I'm a little sick in that way, but I like when someone says no to me because I'm like, okay, you're gonna see.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, like, there you go, there you go, founders that are listening, thick skin is a
Thick
must.
skin,
Yeah, if
must.
you're gonna, and it's funny, it makes me also think of, we have a friend who, works for a retailer that has shared with me, over and over that, yes, he's very busy, he doesn't always respond to you, like, the same day or that week, but he said, like, if you're really interested in doing business, be persistent. Like, you're
Yeah,
not annoying that person, you're not bothering that person. I mean, we all know where that line is, but,
right.
like, his whole point was, like, if you send me an email once a week, I'm not gonna get upset with you. Like, do that. That shows me that you want it, that you're pushing for it, and
Right.
it keeps it in front of me, and then eventually I will respond. And seeing that you're so driven, that also tells him that when you do get on the shelf at that store, that you're going to be in the store demoing,
Right.
you're going to do the promotional stuff, you're going to support the brand and work, because you showed from the beginning that you were tenacious and persistent. And it's the
Yeah,
people that aren't that way that, like, it's a pretty easy, right? And some people, I think, have it. They just are so bashful. They're
they
so
are.
hesitant, like, to, because they think they're bothering somebody. But you know
Right.
what? Like, it's that person's job to field our inquiries. And so you
Yes.
just have to keep on top of it and continually until you hear no. And then even once you hear no, again, you just have to think about, okay, well, how can I possibly turn this no into a yes? And
Yeah.
there's a certain way to do all that, but
I think two things. I think one is, like, for anyone who's a new founder or even just works in CPG, but maybe feels a little insecurity around doing these things. I always say you have to be your own biggest fan. Nobody is going to root for you or support you as much as you're going to do for yourself. You have to just say, I deserve this. People need to know about it. And you can be shouting it from the rooftops and still be a good person and be humble and be kind. It doesn't mean that you're a bully or you're aggressive. There's ways of presenting yourself in a positive way. But if you can't be your own biggest fan, no one else will be, because everybody's busy. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I would say is that when you're not getting responses back, I started just sending emails so that way I pop up on people's emails boxes and saying, hey, just want to let you know, I'm now working with this company, or I'm now in this restaurant. And just to keep me on top of mind for them, so that way when they do respond, they already know what I've been working towards, and they're seeing my growth.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love that. That is 100% the way to do it and keep in front of
Yeah.
those people, those decision makers. So before we dig in and unpack, I got a couple of things I wanted to talk with you about. This is the same advice I think I'll give on every podcast, and I kind of want to hear your thought. I'm sure you'll agree with me on it, but so it boils down to like grit. And
Yeah.
I think that like there's this like romanticized version of being a brand owner in the CPG space that it's kind of, we see some that have been successful, and there's like this highlight reel thing where it's kind of part of our culture today with social media. You see like the highlight reels of people's lives, but like in CPG, the big wins are far and few between, and it's more
Yeah.
about grinding. And what I keep telling people is what I've learned is that you're really looking at dealing with more obstacles. Like on the day to day, it's about navigating the valleys and not necessarily expecting the peaks. And
Yeah.
so, how do you celebrate the small wins? How do you get up every day, get knocked down, get back up, get knocked down, get back up, right? That is the CPG life. It's navigating those valleys. And if you don't take time to realize that, like, oh, hey, today I had 3 obstacles that came up and I solved 2 of the 3, and you
Yeah.
don't take a second and like recognize that you've had some success. Because if you're just waiting for that peak, like, I mean, you can attest, right? Like
Oh,
the peaks come so far between
so
that, like,
far.
you probably would quit before you even reach a peak.
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. And I think that's why you cannot be in this industry if you're doing it just for money,
Yeah.
because it takes a long time for the money to come.
Yeah.
And I think, passion fuels your journey. And it can't be about the passion for the outcome if you're someone who wants an exit or something like that, but it has to be the passion for your product, for the innovation, for whatever it is personal to you. And then I think when you finally get to the destination, you're so shocked by how much you're able to accomplish. But this week I had a really big high. Like I was like, oh my God, this was incredible. Like, I know we'll probably talk about it a little bit more, but that doesn't mean that there weren't obstacles with the co-packer and us trying to figure out how to properly, because now we're in like the depths of research and development of how do we get the right size of the curd so that way we can produce the cheese properly. You can't be fueled by money. You have to be fueled by like true love for what you're doing and why you're doing it. And that's what I'm fueled by, because the money is dribbling in slowly right now. But I'm fueled by representing my culture, representing my heritage, representing a region of the world that is very misunderstood, where our cuisine has like been diluted into this word Mediterranean when we are our own cuisine. And that's what fuels me every day, because if I wasn't fueled by that, I mean, I would give up so easily. But I feel privileged that I have this responsibility and to be like an ambassador to this product, to this category. And that's what fuels me. So again, it goes back to, I think like in the beginning, when you have a company, I do think you have to spend time with yourself and really understand who you are, right? Like, are you someone who gets upset if someone doesn't email you back? Like, how fast do you give up? How do you deal with obstacles? I think the more that you can like really sit and hone in on who you are, it will help your journey if you can figure out where you need to adjust and where maybe you need some growth.
Yeah, I think that like the whole piece around passion for the mission, the
Yeah.
just cause, the higher calling, whatever you want to
However you
put
want to
there.
describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that is the more critical piece. Like if you don't have that, at the end of the day, it all falls short. Like money. So I've been telling people this a lot lately. Like we treat time like money and money like time.
Mm,
And so money is forever abundant, right? Like there's technically no shortage. You can always attempt to get more of it.
right.
Time is not that. Time is finite. Like you only have so much time. And
Right.
so yeah, like really focusing on like how am I going to spend that time and what is important to me and what matters and how can I use my talent or my skill or my influence to benefit my community, the world,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I feel like if you have that, you're always going to be successful. If you're just riding on the money, and you're right, like again, here another one for the founders listening. Food CPG is a get rich slow business.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. It comes very slow, and people get excited because they see the poppies and the sietes and
Right.
these big exits, right? And they're like, oh my gosh! And it's like, yeah, those are like your friends that maybe you know one person that maybe has won a lottery or something, right? And but whether or not you win the lottery doesn't matter if your heart is in the right place. If you're
Yeah. I mean,
constantly, yeah, working at
yeah,
that
if
mission.
you're fulfilled by what you're doing,
Yeah,
you're not gonna think about, am I gonna get acquired or and honestly, it's so funny because people have asked me that and I'm like, I just want to get into grocery stores. Like I'm not even thinking that way right now. I'm just excited to know that my product is in someone's fridge and
yeah,
they picked me over maybe another cheese.
yep.
That's what I'm fueled by, in addition to all the other things I said. But if you don't have that from the get-go, you will give up really, really fast.
Yeah, and I think that authenticity is just it's such a draw,
Yeah.
especially in today's world. There's so many fakers out there
Oh,
that like
yeah.
people you can sense it right away. And I feel like we have such a cool like I won't get too far into it because like I don't want to make people listening jealous, but we have such a cool community of friends. Like so I always
You
also
do.
tell founders that like the village is the most important part, right? Like I'm not where
Yeah.
I'm at because Tom Seymour is the greatest guy ever. I'm where I am because the village that's around me has just supported me and helped me
Yeah.
and nurtured me and grown. Like we're so fortunate. Like every time we get together, the people that we're with, I'm always amazed. Like next week I'll be down in New York City for
Yep.
Beyond CPG. And that event has so many great people at it. And then you look at our smaller kind of group and the people that are in it are just so amazing. Like I'm overwhelmed just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know like that I've seen that in and maybe it
It
exists other places, but like I feel like it's so unique to like the food, especially like the natural food space. There's
right.
such a cool group of people around it. It's really, really amazing how lucky we are to be able to work in the space.
Oh my, it's electric and it's like, it keeps you energized and the people just generally are really good people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that the dairy industry has really embraced me. I mean, this whole new category of Middle Eastern cheeses or Middle Eastern products. I mean, I just said like when I met all these people, I couldn't believe how much like they welcomed me or said, "Oh my God, I've seen you on Instagram. I know about your product." They have been so supportive of me in terms of connecting me with people, sharing my story, buying my product. It's been really overwhelming how wonderful they have been.
Well, I'm hoping there's even more support on the way because let's talk a little bit about so the way that you and I met was through I
Yeah.
think we met through Grow New York,
Yes.
which
At Cornell. Yep.
I'm really hopeful. Yeah, Cornell. I'm
Yep.
really hopeful that like we see you on that Grow New York stage,
Oh, I
and
would love that.
because dairy is such a big part of our state's like
Yeah.
economic impact. I feel like anything that gets up on that stage that can talk about economic impact or economic development around dairy, you have an unfair advantage because people understand how, like, I mean, look at what
Right.
Chobani's done, right? Like, look,
I
I mean,
know.
yeah. So it's like I'm really hopeful that support comes from Grow New York. I think you'd be
Thank
a
you.
great person to get on that stage. But like you've had some great interaction with Cornell.
Yes,
We're both in the Dairy Runway. I'm a mentor in Dairy Runway, but you went through the Runway program, right?
I did. Yeah. So I was one of 10 people selected to be in the Dairy Runway. I did it in 2024. It was an incredible experience, and that whole team has continued to support me in every way possible. But like the mentorship, the ability to go work at their plant and make the product, and just start to learn, what are the pieces of the puzzle that I needed to learn about to how to bring this product to market. So that whole experience was really tremendous in my growth, as someone who's never worked in dairy before. And like I said, Amanda and the entire team, I talk to them almost every week,
That's
whether
awesome.
they're checking in on me, or sometimes they contact me and say, oh, we have some corporate people coming, we'd love to serve your cheese, and I'll ship them cheese and then they'll serve it to everyone. So that relationship has been really invaluable to my growth, and I'm so grateful to everyone in Cornell, for all the support they've given me.
Yeah, I don't think we could thank or name drop Cornell enough here because
I
from
know.
the from the center of excellence to Grow New York to Dairy Runway,
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many like they are a group that is showing up and working hard and putting their money where their mouth is. Like so many people talk the talk. Cornell walks the walk. It's amazing. Like people
it's
like my
amazing.
first what before I ever got to know Cornell, my first interactions were going for my certificate in thermal processing,
Oh,
and
amazing.
I thought like, oh, this is like a really high end Ivy League school. It must be
Yeah.
like really kind of like snobby and like I went to state school,
Stuffy.
so like yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but it's the complete opposite. Like some
Yeah.
of the best people I know work for Cornell. They're all in it. They're there for the community. They're there for the entrepreneurs. Like they have so many great programs. They
Yeah.
back so much of the amazing innovation and economic development that's happening here in upstate New York. It's
Yeah.
just we're so again so blessed and fortunate to have the people and it is the people, right? Like Cornell, the organization, they're great, but it's the people,
It's the
you know,
people
it's
that make it up. Yeah.
yeah, it's Amanda and Jen and Bruno and Mark and
Absolutely.
it's all those people that like they make up such a special group that is such a great support and resource to all of us, you
Yeah.
know?
And they, the way that they found me was, Jen had reached out to someone who works in cheese and said, "Do you know anyone who is, a small batch cheesemaker who like needs help with learning about the industry?" And it was through that connection that I learned about their program, and I applied and I was accepted. So, they really reach out to so many people to look for unique products, unique stories that they can help you, work towards your goals. So it's been so invaluable. I'm so grateful to them.
Yeah, they're great. I actually got to sit with Jen at the New York State Agricultural Society
Yeah.
Conference, 194th agricultural conference, which is just mind-blowing to know that like almost 200 years ago, people were sitting around tables talking about a lot of the same stuff that we're probably talking about today.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought about you because Wegmans got up. So calling out Wegmans here, they got up and they talked all about their cheese cave and like
Oh,
the investment they made in their cheese cave and their cheese program. And I immediately thought of you and I was like, I know they don't have Syrian cheese. And so yeah, hopefully someday, I know you have lots of great retailers that are interested. Hopefully someday Wegmans will take you in and treat you well on the branded version
yeah.
and not necessarily a private label. They do love their private label, but I really love when they understand that as entrepreneurs, our brands are our value, right? Like what
Yeah.
we're building in brand has so much value, and I appreciate the scale that private label gives,
Yeah,
and what they're able to do through their network to be able to grow you fast, because they have the stores and the buyers that are looking to purchase your product.
sure.
But yeah, like being able to get into a store and really drive and promote the brand, it means so much to us, right? The brand's our baby,
Yep,
and the majority of the value of what we're doing, it is in the product, but it's also in the brand, right? Like those that are fortunate enough
100%.
to reach an exit, they reach an exit not because like they're the best private labeler, but because they have built the strongest brand and
Yeah,
following behind that brand. So I'm hopeful that someday you're celebrated with Syrian cheese at Wegmans, and they're proud to put your brand because it
thank you.
represents, yeah, your heritage, your culture, and makes it uniquely different, right? Like a
Yes,
Wegmans private label Syrian cheese, like that just doesn't
it
feel
won't
right.
work. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you, so Wegmans is on my list. So they're definitely, someone that is on the list of conversations for 2026. So that's good news. And I will say to your point about brand, I think in particular for what I'm working towards, brand is critical because this is a category. To your point, like if Wegmans wanted to private label, no one would understand what it means. No one
Mhm,
understands what Syrian cheese is. So
mhm,
if you don't have someone that is representing it in its, in its terms of its story, its founder, its history, I don't think it would do well. And I'm really leaning hard on brand. I'm going to be releasing our my new brand logo. All of that is coming out soon. And when you see where I'm headed with this, it's all heritage based. It's very much, obviously it's a different ethnicity, but like what Siete family did, they leaned in hard on heritage. And
mhm.
that's how I'm leaning my story towards is for you to understand that when you see this logo or these colors or this emblem that is specific to the Middle East, you're thinking of Casbo's Middle Eastern Kitchen,
Mhm.
whether it's cheese, whether it's anything else that I'm coming out with, which we are going to have more products
Nice.
ready in research and development for other things right now. But brand is critical when you have a category that no one has ever heard of or has ever engaged with. So I'm going to be going hard on brand.
Yeah, and I think it's possible with retailers like Wegmans because again, I'm
Mhm.
gonna foreshadow again something we'll talk about here in a minute. But
Yeah.
like if you look at another area of dairy and you look at the yogurt aisle,
Yep.
there was a time when that yogurt aisle was like a commodity, like kind of a throwaway,
Bannon,
low
Briars.
dollar. Yeah, yeah. Nobody, it
Yeah.
was stale. Nobody was excited. And then all of a sudden, this brand Chobani came in,
They just showed
and
up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and they lit it up, and then
They lit it
they
up.
created opportunity where like now the cost per cup was up, the profits were up for the grocer. Now there's all these other brands pouring in. You see Siggy's coming in, and
Yeah.
right, like all the
Faye.
milk, yeah. And now it's
Yeah.
like a huge aisle. It's a very good aisle for the grocery, and it's dominated even in a Wegmans. It's dominated by brand. They
It's
have their own
dominated by
private
brand.
label. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like they've been able to leverage the success of those styles of yogurt.
Right.
So Chobani's still category leader, right?
They are.
And their Wegmans is able to leverage the the buyer going into the aisle and introduce them to their own private label product. And
Yeah.
people that are maybe less loyal to the brand, they may go for the private label. But that's a perfect example where some
Right.
in an area of the store where the brand was able to drive huge change and then maintain their brand position in the aisle.
Right. But when
You
you
know,
think about what Hamdi did when he created Chobani, because I'm a Hamdi lover, like I know all about him because I've researched him so much, is he led with authentic recipe, heritage story. The word Chobani comes from a Turkish word. So it's very similar to what I'm doing. And that those are the differentiators for him when he launched into ShopRite and then got into Wegmans. And he created this massive category that allowed other people to come in. So yeah, I agree with you. It really they are the market leader for a reason. but they were the pioneers of the industry for that category.
It's funny, the first time I saw Chobani, my
Yeah.
wife was watching a television show, and I can't remember even back then where it was on. I don't know if we were streaming at that point. We must have been. I don't know. Maybe it was back in the day when Netflix was still sending like DVDs to your house.
DVDs.
But it was on Nip Tuck. It was like this
Oh,
this
yeah.
this the show that she was watching, and they were eating Chobani yogurt. And
Oh,
believe it or not, that product placement is what led me to inquire and look for it. So it's so
wow.
amazing. Like we always like analyze really deeply, like how do we find the customer? How do we connect with the customer?
Yeah.
Where do we spend the marketing dollar? And it's like I think of that and I'm like, yeah, it could be as random as like product placement and something like that, like a show
Yeah.
where somebody takes notice and goes and looks for it. I think that's probably pretty uncommon, but like that's where I discovered Chobani was through
Was
Nip
through that
Tuck. So
series. That's
yeah,
so cool. That's so
thank
cool.
you, Nip Tuck. So
Yeah.
speaking of Chobani, I
Speaking
wanna
of them.
make sure I know this is kind of it's gonna be stuck in time. This episode will have aired after your big launch or promo in Chobani Cafe. But tell us a little bit about what's going on in the month of February in New York City with Chobani Cafe.
Yeah, so in New York City on Prince Street, there is Chobani Cafe. It is a adorable little cafe where you can get sandwiches and soup and, of course, yogurt. And I launched a grilled Syrian cheese sandwich with them. And the Middle Eastern cheese that I make, the Syrian cheese, melts incredibly well. People have told me it's superior to other melting cheeses, which I appreciate. So I worked with the cafe manager and we developed this authentic flavor profile that is very common in the Middle East that you can get anywhere with Middle Eastern cheese, specifically Syrian cheese. And my sandwich is on the menu and I just get giddy every time I think about it. so,
That's
so
awesome.
it's available now. So right now we're in January. It's going to be available. It's available the whole month of January and actually the entire month of February. And he said maybe into March.
All
So
right. Well, maybe if
we have a little
yeah,
bit of
maybe
time left with it.
yeah, maybe if we can get enough people down there ordering it, it'll become a staple on the menu.
Well, I can tell you something. So last week they placed another order, and the order is actually really large. And I asked them, "How is it selling?" And I was told that it is in the top 5 of
Oh, great.
all menu items being sold, and it is outselling almost every sandwich on the menu.
Wow, that is outstanding. See,
Yeah,
it
so
just
it's
goes to
doing
show
really well.
yeah, people are tired of the same old, same old.
Yeah,
There is an adventurous, and like I said at the beginning of the episode, I think there's just there. I know there's a real demand for Middle Eastern food. It's just it's
products.
hot
Yeah,
right now, and so
yeah.
that's great. You're hitting it right at the right time, and hopefully, it's still on the menu when this episode airs. If not, obviously,
I hope
people are
so.
going to have to buy your cheese and
Yeah,
make it at home. Um, One other thing I didn't touch on, I want to touch on is I know you mentioned Makleb and having to bring it over from
yeah.
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Um,
Hmm.
but New York State is a great state for growing cherries.
Oh,
I know
yes.
that they don't grow that this particular varietal doesn't grow here.
Right.
And I'm not sure if we're saying too much, we can kind of cut it short. But with Cornell in our backyard and what they do with plant science and agriculture, I would think that when we look at economic development and agriculture and how do we
Yeah.
take both dairy and farming and meld them together, this product, right? If we could start growing those cherries here, we start a new agricultural
Yeah.
crop, and then you're using the dairy from the farms to make the cheese, and it could be a really cool connection, right?
Oh, 100%. And it's okay that we do talk about this. So I can tell you that. So you don't have to worry. So I am working with Cornell on
Okay.
seeing if it's possible to grow this tree. And again,
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, it's a St. Lucie cherry tree. And what we learned, this is such a cool science agriculture thing. When cherry trees grow in upstate New York, there's something called rootstock, and rootstock is planted around cherry trees. And all that is the bottom half of a cherry tree is put into the ground to support the cherry tree that we're going to grow. So let's say it's a Bing cherry tree, right? Bing cherries are the common ones in our region. They would plant these other trees in the ground to just give that tree support so it's extra healthy. And what we learned through Cornell is that the St. Lucie cherry tree is used as rootstock. It is used as a support system for the current cherry trees that are being grown. But in the US, they've never allowed the St. Lucie cherry tree to fully grow. So I'm working with Cornell to see if it's possible that we take a St. Lucie cherry tree and we just allow it to grow and provide it with rootstock, so that way we can see if it can produce like a healthy cherry and then be able to harvest the mahleb here in the US. And if that happens, that's incredible, because it would change farming in America. It would bring a new cherry that tastes different to the US. It would make accessibility for myself and chefs and everyone creative in food to use this product. What I also love about it is, obviously it's very special to me, but we would not only be able to use if we were able to harvest the mahleb from inside the pit, I could also use the cherry to make another product.
Yeah.
So whether it's cherry jam, cherry juice, I can come up with something else for it. So that's really like, when you think about the cycle, I mean, it's like, minimal waste. We're using it from flesh to seed. So it would be really incredible. So we are trying to figure that out now. Obviously, it's going to take years to grow a cherry tree, but I'm so excited for the possibility of this, because it would change agriculture in America.
Yeah, that is so great. I know one of the cherry producers here in Western New York had figured out, like, they were using just the flesh and the seed was going to waste.
Yeah.
And they figured out that they were able to upcycle the cherry seed or the cherry pit and sell it to wood burning stove pellet manufacturers. And it
Oh,
actually is really good fuel for pellet stoves. But they
wow.
obviously they take the cherry pits and they grind them up and they incorporate them into the sawdust pellet. So
Interesting.
I know, like, even from that perspective, like, we're always talking about sustainability, and
Yeah.
like even from that perspective, we're able to like take waste and upcycle it. So maybe after you harvest the makleb from the pit, you'll be able to sell those pits and have
Yeah.
another stream of income, and people can use them then to heat their house.
That's a great idea. Wow.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knew?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That's the beauty of science and agriculture. But
yeah.
Cornell is where to do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Well, hopefully people heard it here first, that I think that eventually when you get your time on stage at Grow New York,
Oh,
I can't imagine you not walking away with an investment, because of what a great total concept you have. It's not just about Syrian cheese. There's so
right.
much more behind the scenes. So I'm really excited
Thank you.
to eventually see you present on that stage. So
I I would love it. And honestly, I think if like I said, there's an opportunity for co-packing that right now it's so limited for people in dairy, that if we can help reshape some of the economic side in upstate New York, and there's an opportunity for more co-packing for products like mine, I think that would be incredible.
yeah, co-packing is constrained on a lot of products. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's a hard. I've worked in co-pack for a number of years, and I can tell you that it's extremely difficult. I constantly hear people say, like, "Oh, it's really constrained is small co-pack," and the
Yeah.
reason that small co-pack is constrained is because you can't make money doing it. It is extremely difficult to run small co-pack and be profitable, because what I would have to charge you to make a small run of product, you wouldn't be able to pay, and your consumer, it wouldn't line up with the SRP. And
Right.
so there's a reason that small co-pack is like pretty non represented in the industry, but that doesn't mean that like a co-packer couldn't be more mid-sized or larger. And then what I've seen modeled successfully is those larger, they can take certain number of projects under their wing and do incubation for emerging brand when they're smaller, right?
Right.
Ledestre Foods was
Yeah.
great at that. Like, they were producing pasta sauce and Alfredo sauce for some of the largest brands in the country. But then at the same time, they were very entrepreneurial in thinking about, if they believed in an emerging brand, let's bring it in, let's get in early and help them be successful. So I agree. I
Yeah.
think there's something there. It's just a matter of figuring out how to structure it so that everybody in the supply chain is profitable, you know?
Yeah. That would be
So
great. So we'll see what's ahead, but the cherry trees, I hope we can get one in the ground this year and see what happens.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do me a favor, tell the audience where they can find the product.
Okay.
Um, uh, Give them both the e-commerce side of it as well as maybe some retailers in the
Sure.
Northeast.
Yeah. So the product is available in New York City at Zabar's. Also, the sandwich is available at Chobani Cafe. I'm also on the menu at Cafe Zafri. There is Syrian cheese on that throughout the entire menu, so you can enjoy it there. If you're in New Jersey, it's available at the Wheelhouse in Maplewood. It's available at Wine Library in Springfield, New Jersey. It's available at Gary's in Madison and Bernardsville. It's available at Van Hook Cheese in Montclair. And then if you would like it to be shipped, I ship it to the Northeast. That is through DMs on Instagram. And you can find me on Instagram at, if you just type in Kasbo, Kasbo, I'll pop right up.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
have enjoyed spending time with you today. It's the best hour of my snowstorm weekend. So
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you carving out time. It went so quickly. There was so much great information shared here in this episode. So I'm very appreciative of your thoughts and yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching your rise and
Oh,
hopefully what was said here is helpful and we're holding a door for some future entrepreneur or somebody that needed to hear what was said here today.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't thank you enough. I'm so lucky to have you in my corner and in my village, as you say. So it means a lot to me. So I can't thank you enough for inviting me. But I'm happy to help anyone. If anyone has any questions, they can always send me a DM and connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
All right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.